Angle Angle Podcast, I'm not sure what number this is, hopefully 1. Thanks for joining me, Mac Angle, Fort Worth Star Telegram, Angle Angle Podcast, here to talk a little bit about sports memorabilia and specifically autographs. Sports autographs remain a big ticket item. You can see people standing out in front of hotels in big cities where an NBA team or an NHL team or an NFL team is in town, and people will wait forever in hopes that their favorite player might walk out in front and sign a hat or a picture. A lot of sports memorabilia dealers will sit there and stake them out forever in hopes of taking that $10 picture and by getting an autograph, turning it into $150. And I'm here to tell you now that as I have gotten older, the autograph that you received that just is the signature isn't worth anything. The one that you want is a little different and or it's personalized. Now, I have a lot of the junk that you see behind me. This is stuff that I had in my room when I was a kid. My parents are still in the same house back in Indiana that I grew up in, and they kept all of it. So I kind of repurposed some of it. It's kind of fun. But some of the other stuff that I've had, I've really gone out of my way to protect because it's specific to me, it's unique, and in my world, it's invaluable. It's taking point here. So here are a few autographed items, baseballs that I got over the years. The first one, my dad got me. This is an autographed baseball. The light's kind of killing me. And it's from Johnny Bench, the Hall of Fame catcher of the Cincinnati Reds. It says, "To Mac, catch you later, Johnny Bench." That one means a lot to me. My dad got that from me when I was really young. I was a big Johnny Bench fan, even though I don't think I ever really saw him play very much because I was too young. Here's one that I like to share because the story behind it's so much fun. In 2001, I was covering the Texas Rangers. They had an away game at Comiskey Park in Chicago. It was a really cold May day, and I'm sitting there in the dugout for the Chicago White Sox because none other than Ernie Banks happens to be there. And I thought, well, I'll interview him for something. It's Ernie Banks. I can't think of it. Now, this is my first year as a professional sports beat writer. So I'm very young, and I'm kind of nervous, and I go up to him. The park, it's a very cold day. There weren't a lot of people there. It's a couple hours before, it's during batting practice, so it's a couple hours before first pitch. And I talked to him, I have an interview, and I said, "Mr. Banks, so much for your time. Really appreciate it." And he says, hang on. And I want to give you something. So a ball boy or whatever comes up and gives him a tray of brand new baseballs. And immediately I know what he's going to do, which is in a violation of my job. It says there on my little press credential, no autographs. And I said, "Mr. Banks, I can't do this." He said, no, let me give you one. So he signs me a baseball that says Ernie Banks. And then he gives me another one. And this is the one, and he asks me how to spell my name because everybody misspells my name. It says, "To Mac, get married soon, Ernie Banks." That was very special to me, and I kept it, and I put it in here. And for a long, long time, I kept these autographs in the closet because I didn't want them to fade. And then I got older, I'm like, who cares? What if they fade? These aren't worth anything to anybody other than me. Now, some other ones that I got that I'll share with you that mean something to me. Back in 2007, I wrote a book on Tony Romo. And Tony was very, very gracious about it. Couldn't have been any nicer. Actually, an anecdote that I like to share is that I went up to Tony. I was covering the Dallas Cowboys at the time. And I said, "Can I get you some copies of it?" And he said, "No, I went out and bought it last night." And I went to Barnes & Noble and he bought it. And I said, "Well, can I get you, half dozen, 10 or whatever?" And he said, "No, man, make as much money as you can from it." I was always grateful for that. That was very nice of him. So later on in the year, I gave it to a Cowboys staffer, a PR staffer. I said, "Could you have him sign it?" So he signs it and it says, "To Mac, you're getting better," big smiley face, Tony Romo. It's very nice of him. It's an award-winning book, by the way. I don't know what awards it won, but I'm sure it won someone. So now to the big crescendo. There's two other ones that I have that are related to Pete Rose. And the disgraced Hit King is notorious about his willingness to sign anything in exchange for money. Literally anything. And he will say anything on the inscription, as long as you pay him $65 or $75, whatever he's charging these days. So the first one I got, actually this one wasn't This one just was sort of given to me through family members. I was born in Cincinnati, Ohio in the 70s, and we had family members who knew one of Pete's good friends. So this picture was given to me, and this one actually would be worth quite a bit, I don't think. I say that. This is of Pete Rose and Tony Perez sharing bathroom stalls during baseball spring training, probably back in the 60s or early 70s. And it says, "My good wishes, Pete Rose and Tony Perez." It's signed by both of them, and it's faded a little bit. This is one that I definitely keep in the dark, and that one means a lot to me. But it doesn't mean as much as the next one, because when I was a kid, Pete was my favorite player. I'd seen him play, and everybody loved Pete Rose. If you grew up in Ohio, or in my case, Indiana, I was a big Pete Rose fan, and I was devastated when baseball kicked him out for gambling on baseball because I believed him. Now that I'm older, clearly I don't. However, in 1996, I was at the MGM Grand Hotel in Las Vegas. I was in my first year at TCU as a graduate student working in its athletic department, and I happened to be there for an event, and the hotel was brand new. I didn't have a lot of money, and I had just lost $50 on a football game, and I was very depressed. And somebody comes by the sports book and says, "Hey, Pete Rose is here." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, Pete Rose is here. I can't believe that, Pete Rose." So I walked through the casino kind of hurriedly and looking around, and there he is. There's my idol at a blackjack table, a $25 table, looking terrible. Older, looks like he hadn't slept in a long time, overweight. He's with some young woman who's clearly not his daughter. Not that I have any judgment on that. And I thought, man, I've got to get his autograph. And I wasn't even an autograph guy necessarily. I'm showing you all the ones that I think I have. I was like, I got to get him to sign something. So I go up and I grab anything I can find. And I thought, man, this is a bad idea. I said, well, YOLO, let's just try it. So I go up to him and I'm shaking. And I said, "Mr. Rose, I hate to bother you. I grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio. I was the biggest Pete Rose fan. I'm a huge fan of yours. My family was. It would mean so much to me if you would sign this for me." Grabs it, signs it. I said, "Thank you so much." And he nods. And I went away. However depressed I was that I had just lost $50 that I didn't have, I went up to the roof. I was so excited about getting this autographed. And I kept it for a long time because I knew what I wanted to frame it with, but I couldn't find it. And I didn't, because the internet didn't exist then. You couldn't shop for these things necessarily. And I kept looking for it and looking for it. So about 10 years later, I'm in a secondhand store where there's a bunch of magazines. And I start thumbing through old Sports Illustrateds. And there it is. That's the one that I'm looking for. So I plop down my $5 and I buy the Sports Illustrated. That is the one that I'm looking for to pair with my Pete Rose autograph. And this is it. This is the Pete Rose cover of Sports Illustrated back in 1989 when it was apparent that he was busted for gambling, specifically on baseball. And this right here is a Pete Rose autograph of an MGM parlay card. Now, again, I don't know what these things are worth necessarily. The Pete Rose, Tony Perez sitting on the toilet might be worth quite a bit. But this one's worth a lot. So kids, adults, if you're going to get an autographed item, make sure it's either personalized or it means a lot to you as a person.